Do you think I should close the window? Because you can hear, like, the chimes from the backyard.
Wind chimes and stuff?
The summer crickets and... Because I was listening to one of our podcasts on the way back from the gym at, like, 2 o'clock in the afternoon one day, and I heard all these crickets chirping, and I was like, what? Oh, those are in the podcast.
Wow, they made it on the mic.
They did, yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Listen. I bet you can hear that. Anyway, I don't know. Is it a nice addition?
We'll find out.
I don't know.
I will never find out. No one will ever say anything.
Maybe Nate will tell us.
Maybe Nate will tell us.
It's been gorgeous. And we got out of town this weekend, too.
We sure did,
that.
yeah.
Went to Durango for 30 hours. We weren't in Durango for 30 hours. The entire trip took 30 hours.
It took 30 hours.
And that includes 7 hours drive each direction.
Sure did. It sure did.
But let's get to that when the time comes.
Yeah.
Where do we start?
Well, last time I said I had a kind of a busy week in addition to normal work stuff and stuff. Had a rehearsal with Half Zen, Jonathan Greschler's band, Half Zen. And then we had the first show with this new lineup, which new bass player is the guy. And it was at Fraco's, which used to be Toad Tavern, which is down in kind of South Denver. And it was for, I got to give a shout out to Tree Williams, Chris Tree Williams, who runs this company, Open Stage Denver. I highly recommend doing any events they do. You are able to just sign yourself up for whatever slot. It really is an open stage. Solo artists get 30 minutes and bands get an hour. And that's usually that includes setup time, meaning that if it takes you 15 minutes to set up, you get to play for 45 minutes. Anyway, Half Zen went and did one, and they videoed it and did a live recording, and we got the live recording back, and Tree did a really impressive job on the mix.
Nice.
So you got a live video with full live recording, everything mic'd up, for a total of $200. Or you don't need to pay. Oh, the price is amazing.
That's unbelievable. How many cameras is it?
It was at least 3.
Dang.
Yeah, at least 3.
3 stationary cameras, right?
At least 3 stationary.
Was there a roving?
They're not doing roving.
Okay.
Shootin dice.
Oh, Shootin dice.
Shooting with the apostrophe and no G. They were doing the video, and I met those guys, and it was cool to meet them. But yeah, it is just an amazing deal. Or again, if you don't want to do the video in the photo stuff, it's completely 100% free.
So that's just a gig you can sign yourself up for.
It's just a gig you can, so I encourage anybody out there who just wants to do a set, look up Open Stage Denver, OSD. I know for sure they're on Facebook.
They used to do, they used to be in a different location, and I cannot remember which stage it was, but my very first band, Star, recorded with them. Like we went there because we needed to get video, and they recorded us. And
right.
I think it was less than $200 at the time, but you get video and mixed audio of your live performance, and it's like that is a pretty that is the most cost-effective way to get non-cell phone recording of your live performance.
Right.
Like if you need to get media for your band, that's...
And the audio was very nice.
Well, it's good.
Very, very nice. Good. And, couldn't recommend it more highly. Sort of no excuse not to go do that.
And then you gave me the business cards for Shootin Dice. What's his name? Josh?
Dice?
His name is Dice?
Oh, there's 2 guys.
Oh.
Yeah, anyway.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, I emailed the one not named Dice.
Yeah.
Because he or they, the two of them, they run, what's it called?
The Rick House.
The Rick House, yeah, which is where I had learned about the Rick House because Robbie Schechter, the owner of Musical Life Denver, had their last student showcase at the Rick House. That's how I heard about them, and that's why I checked them out. And I would love to check it out for Performance High. So we might do our December 10th showcase there.
Yeah.
We do have Toad Tavern booked, but if we end up having a middle school choir, an adult pop choir, they're not going to fit on that stage.
No, they're
not.
So
I've got to hold on the Oriental. I've got an inquiry out to the Rick House, and they're going to get back to me this week. And I've got the Goose Town. I'm like, we are playing on December 10th somewhere.
Right.
Don't know exactly where, but
luckily that's a little bit out. Although, gosh, doesn't stuff go so fast?
Oh my gosh, it goes so fast.
But Half-Zen did great. It was, definitely a first show, and that's what's great about Open Stage Denver is that's a great place to go and do a workout set.
What do you mean by first show? Because I know Half-Zen has played a handful of shows.
First show with this exact group of guys. We have a new bass player now, and it's a new lineup. And so for this exact group of guys, it was the first show, and a few bumps in the road, but all in all, a lot better. I listened to a few of the recordings, and it was better than I remembered.
Cool. Cool.
I'm worried about seeing my performance because I think I was telling you, I might have performed a little too much. It's worth talking about that when you're performing, you should always be thinking about not just your performance, but what everybody looks like and what the stage looks like. And Jonathan is very big and throwing his arms around, and he's just huge. And too much movement on a stage can make it just hard to look at. There's just people flailing themselves around.
This is an interesting topic here. Okay, so in your situation, you have a very dynamic, animated, space-taking up lead singer.
Yeah.
And you can be a very animated sideman.
Right.
And you were worried that you might have performed too much, which means that you created distraction on stage. Now, here's a different situation. One of my earliest gigs with a wedding band that I founded, it was me and my co-founder, vocal coach, Michelle, as front people. I was extremely green. She was maybe 5 years into singing, I think, 5 years into performing. And we hired a male backup vocalist who was very experienced. Mr. Tim, by the way. He lives in Fort Collins now. Yeah, we hired Mr. Tim.
Yeah.
He's an a cappella looper guy. And he came in and he was extremely dynamic.
Right.
He had big stage presence, and that was at Redfish in Boulder, which is like a pretty small stage.
Yeah, tiny.
So he completely overshadowed us. So here's these situations are completely opposite, right?
Right.
Here you have in your situation with Half-Zen, you're trying not to create, you're not trying to match the lead performer, you're trying to give the lead performer room.
Right.
Right. And in our situation, it would have been better if Mr. Tim had toned it down a little bit because he was too big for us.
Right. and you've got to, I think
about the hierarchy there,
I think you've got to gauge that, especially as a side performer, someone who's backing up a lead singer. You've got to. For one thing, you just don't want to pull focus. Which you can do. I know I can do. And you really don't want to pull focus, but you also don't want to again be overly animated, and then there's too much going on stage. I think I lost a client in Miami because they were very proud of everybody on stage was we just wanted people to be amazed at how much fun we're having and how much energy we're putting out there, and just everybody on the stage was just and I was like, guys, it is literally hard to look at. I said it in a nicer way than that, but I was like, I can't tell who's doing what. I can't tell who I'm supposed to focus on.
They're all just going crazy.
They're all just going nuts. And their whole thing was, look at how much energy we have, and look at how much fun we're having, and look at how much... And it's just like, but you can't all be doing that all the time.
Because and now you don't see that client anymore?
I think they were unhappy that I didn't agree with them, that was incredibly entertaining how... much energy they were having, and we put way more energy into it than anybody else, and I'm like, that's good, but you have to be aware of people being able to look at what you're doing. Or it sort of becomes a tennis match situation where people are just like, what am I supposed to be focusing on here? And it, I think I said something about it a couple of times ago. I definitely have to watch myself sometimes and tone it down because I can feel that I am being a little a little too big, you know. And to be fair, it matters the size of the stage. A small stage, that stuff's going to matter. With Petty Nicks, we can all be a little bit bigger. Or I can be way bigger in Petty Nicks because you're way bigger and Julian throws a big bit of energy.
Yeah.
So I can be big without
overshadowing
without pulling focus. And also we're on a bigger stage and we're spread out and there's room.
And not every band member is doing that. Like you're
exactly.
You're the sideman, you're like the next level in the hierarchy. Yeah. Like there's the lead singers and then there's the sideman like supporting the lead singers.
Yeah.
I mean everybody's supporting the lead singers, but you know, keyboard players are stuck where they are. And,
right. Yeah. And they're sort of, And
drummer's stuck where he is. Yeah.
Well, we talked about with like when we saw Phoenix, how they did such a good job of the guys on the sides sort of taking responsibility for their zone of the crowd, where the people on the very edges of the crowd, they were making sure to still support their guys and not pull focus, but also be the entertainment for the people that were directly in front of them.
Yeah, kind of like a more muted level, like, hey, I'm playing guitar to you guys. Like, not like trying to jump around and take attention from the entire room.
Yeah. I was mortified one time when we were just early days on tour with No Address. Maybe we weren't even touring yet. And label people came to see us to like check up on it and stuff. And one of them who was very experienced and had been in the business forever, and he was like, You need to tone it down. You are overshadowing your lead singer.
Ooh.
Everybody's watching you and they're not watching your singer. And I was mortified because I did not realize I was doing that. And he was like, it's cool, but you gotta make sure people are, Anyway, so we'll see when we see the video, or maybe I won't even watch the video because who knows? Yeah, well, so that went on for a while. Anyway, and then Thursday we had a rehearsal for the Stevie only show that you were talking about.
Yeah, I'm pleased that we got this booking. It's at Village at the Peaks. It's called Taste of the Peaks. It's a music series.
Sure.
And the band before us is it's a Journey tribute. I can't remember which one right now. It's in my calendar.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah, and the band after us is Paisley Park. And so it's a strong lineup.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me for the Petty Nicks experience to be in this lineup, but for us to be in it when it's only the Stevie Nicks side of things, because Julian is in Europe for 2 months.
Right.
That's pretty cool that we still got this booking.
Yeah.
So I have to say I'm maybe a little nervous about it. I mean, not like feeling nerves, but this is going to be a different show. You know, the whole combination of Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks. So we've got these like lots and lots of classic Tom Petty songs that are kind of just like, they're all great and they're all middle of the road, like feel good, rock and roll, like you can put any song anywhere, kind of. And the Stevie songs are so heavy on the mystery and the heartbreak and the darkness that it's hard to make a good set out of them.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So we are adding a song that's a good intro song because we don't have any great Stevie intro songs that are like, hi, we're a band that does Stevie Nicks.
Just a
You're going to have fun with us. Like,
yeah.
But we had a rehearsal with Tyler, our drummer, one of our two drummers, and we just tidied up a couple things, learned that song. That song ended up being more fun than people thought it would because it's a straightforward pop song with 4 chords.
Yeah.
No, 3 chords because it repeats the chord.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We felt like we were rocking it. Like it was like we got into it and it was just like, oh, this is fun. I thought this was going to be like kind of a throwaway.
Yeah.
Just and you need songs every once in a while that aren't. You can't play all
massive
barn burners.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you have to be able to move up and down a little, and so we needed another off-speed pitch to kind of change it up a little bit, and it worked out. It turned out great.
I mean, it's a hit. It's just not a huge hit.
Yeah, and it's it's not Edge of 17 or some wildly energy thing. Yeah. So that I think it's going to go really good.
Yeah,
I think it's going to go.
Yeah, and so I'm going to have an interesting Saturday. Is that Saturday? Yeah, that's Saturday. So I'm going to drop off my bass gear. Actually, I looked at the times, and I think it's going to be fine. I'm going to drop off my bass gear in Boulder for a gig that I have at 7:30. And then I'm going to go to the Petty Nicks gig in Longmont.
Right.
That is a quick setup because the band before us ends a half an hour before we start. So
Yeah, it's just
we're not going to be there 2 hours early to load in.
Just a throw and go.
Yeah. So we'll do that. It's an hour-long set, ends at 6:15, and then we will grab our stuff, get in the car, and go back to Boulder, and I'll do that show with Pamela Makala.
Yeah, at the Stone House.
The Stone Cottage.
Stone Cottage.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's
I
on
don't know the
7th,
place.
It's on 7th Street. It's a private residence, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like a backyard music series.
Oh, well, that would explain why I don't know it. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's on 7th Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is going to be another doubleheader for you.
Yeah.
You're making a real habit of that. I don't know if we'll get a cop car this time, but
It's been an interesting few weeks. Oh, and then that brings us to this weekend. So on Monday, I got a text from Dee in Albuquerque, New Mexico, who is a producer with Diamond Empire New Mexico, Diamond Empire Band New Mexico chapter. They had a female vocalist back out of a wedding gig in Durango on Saturday, and he was looking for somebody, and I said, well, it just so happens I am not doing anything this weekend. That's unbelievable, but thank you, Julian, for being out of town. Otherwise, I'm sure we would have had some gigs with Petty Nick's experience. So you decided you would drive down with me. We drove down early on Saturday and came back early on Sunday to avoid traffic.
Because that mountain traffic it is getting worse and worse in Colorado, and then of course it was Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so everybody was hitting the mountains and going camping and doing all these things.
And we were so worried. I was worried anyway that what should be like a 6.5 hour drive would turn into like a 9 or 10 hour drive,
which can happen easily.
It really can.
Yeah,
it's happened to me.
It can lock up. I know one time I was coming back from the mountains for some reason. Coming back from a different part of the mountains, but still, I hit traffic an hour and a half from Denver that just didn't move for an hour, and so I pulled off and just waited at a restaurant for till 9 o'clock at night, because it can just get so many people going to the mountains. So we left super early, and it worked. We didn't hit really any slowdowns at all.
Not either direction. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, there's that one by the outlet malls in Castle Rock City, but that always happens.
Yeah.
So we drove down to Durango.
Yeah, so, I mean, this was a great experience. First of all, it was my first gig with Diamond Empire Band, and of course, I am on their roster as a bassist primarily, but Aubrey, the producer I know, put me in the system as both a bassist and a vocalist in case the need arose.
In case something came up, yeah.
The need did arise, and I was happy to do it. It was 5 days between the call and the gig, and that was just fine. I mean, Dee put together a set list that was half him and half me, and so I learned some harmonies on his stuff that anything I didn't already know, and I learned a couple of new songs. It's so easy. It's so easy as a vocalist.
Yeah.
I mean, I put in more prep than I need to. But also because I didn't really know exactly what I was walking into.
Yeah, right.
But I'm going to continue to put in more prep than I need to because I just like to be prepared. But anyway, so I walked up, I got to it was a private residence, and I walked up to the band and met them all, and they were all super nice. Such nice guys. The drummer noticed that I was standing in my heels during the ceremony, just kind of watching, and so he brought over his drum throne and set it down next to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for giving me a place to sit. Yeah, they sounded
like really nice guys.
Yeah, just super welcoming, all great musicians, really experienced guys. I mean, Dee, the producer and the musical director for this gig, is the worship leader at 2 churches. The guitar player Michael teaches music at a public school. I mean, they all are teachers or full-time musicians, and it went so easily, and it just took a load off my mind for this gig I have coming up in October, where I am playing bass for my first Diamond Empire gig, because I just saw how it works.
Yeah, and that was such a good. It was actually great that you were on vocals, because that's a real comfort zone for you, and you got to see how it runs while you're. Yeah. You've got some bandwidth to make some observations.
Yeah. And so I was telling you, one thing that I picked up on was, I know this is going to be different with every different group of musicians, and it's probably different from chapter to chapter, but I have been kind of focused on making sure I get all the exceptions noted. Like the third chorus in this song, there are some hits at the end of it. Not the other choruses, but like the third chorus, it does a little thing. I'm pretty sure most most groups of musicians are not going to hit that kind of stuff. Now, Nate, I know Nate likes to note these things, and so I'm still going to note them and still going to practice them, but I'm also going to be ready for that stuff not to happen.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like a dual thought that's going to have to go on as I'm looking through my charts with things. It's kind of, I'm going to have to feel on each gig like how precisely everyone studied, and kind of go with that.
Yeah, and you do have to have a little bit of a plan A, plan B on some stuff. Here's what I'm going to do if it goes this way, but if it doesn't go that way, then here's what I'm going to.
Yeah.
You know, if they aren't doing the hits, then
Yeah. But I just felt like I walked away from that thinking, yeah, I can hang with this. I can do this.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be a train wreck. This isn't going to be super scary. I think I'm going to just settle into it.
Yeah, it's going to take work, but it should be good.
Yeah. Well, as I go back through all my charts right now, because now I'm flipping back over to focusing on bass after doing a lot of singing recently. I am trying to go by ear a lot, so my eyes aren't glued on charts, and my hands and my ears are pretty well connected.
Yeah.
At this point.
Well, we've talked about your ears are great, so it's just getting your hands to it's so easy to trip up. Like, you can hear that the right thing's happening, but then you've got another layer of thought that's telling your hand to go. It's going to the 4 chord, but then you got to think. So, but when you get them, it sounds like you have them a lot more linked up.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is great.
And here's another thing I picked up on at this gig. These musicians were stellar at starting the next song with no time in between. Whoever could start or should start the song just started it.
Yeah.
So if there was a guitar riff, even if on the recording the whole band would come in together, sometimes the bassist would just start looping the chords or the riff. Sometimes if there was a guitar riff, the guitarist would just start the riff. And I'm talking 2 seconds after the song rang out, somebody would start the next thing. It was great. So it made me, know that if I want to facilitate that sort of thing myself, and of course I'll have to read each situation, but I'll need to be thinking ahead to the next song while we are playing the previous song. Like, can I start this song and how does it go?
Right.
That's so hard to do.
Yeah, sometimes it really is. That next one will not get in your head while you're,
There was one song that happened on where nobody in the band could remember what the song's groove was. And we're all fumbling for our phones. Does anybody have it downloaded? Because nobody had any cell service up there.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
And so, I'm like, I have it down. I'm like, where's my purse? We're racing to figure out who can get the song up first so we can play it for each other so we can get things started. But the dance floor was a little distance from us. It was probably 20 or 30 feet away. Yeah. So it was us under a little tent on the grass, and there was 20 or 30 feet of grass, and then there was a dance floor on the grass.
Yeah.
And so they were just standing there talking, not knowing that we were flipping out trying to find the song.
Yeah. That's always so weird. That's always very weird.
Anyway, they gave me a little round of applause at the end. Not the audience, but the band was like, "Let's hear it for Adrienne's first Diamond Empire gig. Yay!" I was like, "Oh my God, you guys." Yeah,
it sounds like such a good organization they have over there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I told Aubrey I'd be happy to do more songs on voice if the need arises,
I was so surprised that they so Albuquerque is obviously in New Mexico. Famous for its left turns.
What?
Bugs Bunny should have taken a left turn at Albuquerque. Anyway, they're all the way down from Albuquerque, which is they were 4 or 5 hours from where the gig was?
4 hours, yeah.
Yeah, because the gig is in the Four Corners area where New Mexico and Arizona and Colorado and Utah meet. Mm-hmm. So way over there at the very edge. So it was 6 or 7 hours for you. It was just funny that they had to go all the way to Denver to find someone to fill in for this gig. It actually isn't funny. It's end of summer, very busy season. Mm-hmm. Lots of people were already booked. We just happened to not be.
Yeah.
And
well, actually, I was asking Dee what happened to the female vocalist and is she okay? And he's like, "Oh, I don't know what happened to her. She's fine. She just canceled." And I was like, "She canceled on a wedding 5 days before?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've been having trouble finding reliable professional female vocalists in Albuquerque in New Mexico." And I was like, "Really?" That seems like that seems like there's more female vocalists than anybody else. That and guitarists, you know?
That and guitarists, but again, finding professional ones and ones that could jump in on a gig at that late notice.
Yeah.
And that weren't booked, you know, that's probably a big thing because there are so many weddings and outdoor festivals and all these things. And Albuquerque is not that big of a city.
Yeah.
You know, it's 500,000 people. I'm sure it's bigger now, but not much bigger than 500,000 people. New Mexico as a state just does not have very many people in it.
That is true. Yeah. But anyway, I thought of Rachel Irvin, who used to work at Performance High.
Right.
And I texted her to see if she might be interested, and she checked it out and said that she is. So I'm hooking them up, and maybe she'll start working.
That'll be great. I mean, she would be dynamite.
She's a unicorn.
She's
extremely professional and smart and responsible and detail-oriented. She will do her homework. She'll come prepared. Yeah. She's cool to hang out with. And she has the best voice, the most versatile voice. She can do everything from jazz to metal, and I swear everything in between. She's amazing.
And not hack. No, like that's a really good version of that.
Yeah.
You know,
she
and
can
it's
do musical.
Totally different.
Second by second, she can go from musical theater to rock, to hard rock, to screaming, to jazz, to classical.
Yeah.
It's crazy. She's like one of those people on TikTok who like sing and like switch voices every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
She could totally do that.
Yeah, she's just she's just one of those, and that's great that you were able to connect them.
Yeah.
I spent my time, I went partially to fish on the Animas River, which is a pretty famous river. It's a gold medal trout stream. So, you know, kind of world known. I didn't do that well. But so I went, and after you went to the gig, I went down to the river and fished a little bit, and I just suck at fly fishing. So I'll have to figure that out. But it's kind of a big river, and it was extremely slippery, so I decided not to do much wading. So my options were, I got one bite, but, you know, I was so unprepared for that one bite that I didn't even attempt to set the hook because I just had all this line out everywhere. Anyway, and then I went downtown and enjoyed downtown Durango.
And how was that?
It was less than great. On the night that I went, I mean, first off, we were talking about it the whole time. They had some sort of motorcycle festival there. Mm-hmm. So there were all these bikers, but they were like, you know, obviously not biker gang bikers, like cosplay bikers.
I think that is the typical biker these days.
I'm sure that it is.
The investment banker.
It absolutely is. And these were not the investment banker bikers. These were. It was. It wasn't. Yeah, it was not the A team or the B team. This was the C team. Yeah, it was. But there were thousands of them, and oh my gosh, just driving in circles around the downtown with a huge loud engine, or just driving around blasting terrible classic rock.
I felt so bad because I drove through downtown to get to the wedding.
I forgot about that.
And I saw these people, you know, my windows were closed, and I saw all these people walking around. It felt like there was a good vibe, and I was like, hey, you should leave the hotel and go downtown. It's not too far. Catch a lift. And you ended up paying for a taxi to go hang out among all these loud motorcycles, and you kept trying to go to bars, and they were telling you that they had already called
I know.
first.
It's a college town. I mean, it's a very small college. It's like
Fort Carson.
It's something, yeah. Fort Carson, maybe. Fort Morgan, maybe it is. I don't know what it is, but it's a very, very small college. But it is a college town, so it feels like the downtown is definitely like a party college town area. But I kept trying to go in places, and they were like, we just called last call. And it's like, well, on the door it says you're open till 11. And they're like, yeah, sorry, we're...
And you went, it was like an hour before. You went in at 10, and they're like, yeah, I can't serve you.
I mean, I went in like 4 places. And they just had decided they were done. It is also a mountain town, so it's like a college town, but it's also a mountain town. It's a big ski town during the season and all that. So I think maybe they just felt like they'd made enough money and they were just going to close, you know? Because I overheard several bartenders talking, and they were like, yeah, we did great this weekend. We've been making so much money. And I think they just decided, like...
And this was Saturday night.
This is Saturday night.
There's still Sunday night to go.
The sidewalks are not thronged with people, but there's people everywhere.
Yeah.
The bars and stuff were full. It's not like the place was empty and they were like, we're closing. Sorry, there's no one in here. It was like, no, it's full. And they're just like, yeah, we called last call. We're just getting out of here. It's the weirdest thing. And there were all these college kids around too. But they were like really not like college kids you would see somewhere else. I don't want to be mean, but yeah, it was a weird. It was an interesting night. It was, it was pretty interesting. And I tried to find some live music, and there was sort of nothing going on, and tried to go. I just think it's a weird combination of a mountain town and sorry if anybody knows Durango or is from Durango. I know a lot of listeners of this podcast. We do have a heavy Durango contingent. And I apologize, but I'm sure maybe I just didn't find the cool places because I just was kind of going off of...
Or maybe it's just this was Labor Day weekend and it's different.
Yeah, it could have been, And the Lyft driver even was like, oh, no, go to this place. It's like a locals place, like it's the whatever. And it was not. It was this huge, like 3-level, 300 people, like bar and grill type. Gosh. Very touristy, it was just kind of, everything felt like a weird mix of touristy and bikery and college kid. It was so that's what I did. And then, so we,
so I came home at 1:00 in the morning no, it wasn't that late. Cause the gig we played till 11:15.
You went a little past 11.
We went a little past 11 cause we started late.
And then you helped pack up.
I helped pack up cause it definitely felt like a group thing, and I didn't want to be like, all right guys, I'm out, because everybody was helping, so I rolled a bunch of cables.
That's the right thing to do.
I got out at I think I got back to you at like 1:00 in the morning.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. Yeah.
And we stayed up talking a little bit.
And then we got up and drove back. It was nice to drive through that part of Colorado. We don't get through there that often. I mean, we've been down there on different camping trips. It's been years. It was funny too, like, between going up and down in elevations and stuff, it was like we went from everything from it being 55 degrees outside to it was like 95 in Pueblo. Yeah. So we were going through all these. Every time you look down at the temperature, in the car when you're driving, and you're like, it's 55. Now it's 75. Now it's 95. I know.
I feel very lucky to live in this state.
It was. I mean, I have to admit the drive was gorgeous. I mean, it was kind of like a lot of people would take that drive if it were just a vacation attraction.
Yeah.
It's pretty enough, and the sightseeing of just the stuff you're driving through. We were just trying to go the quickest way. We weren't even going the scenic ways.
Yeah.
But there's just enough stuff to see. Yeah, it is very scenic. So,
and I also feel very lucky. Just, since I'm on, well, it's not luck, it's by design, but I was feeling gratitude earlier today because not only do we live in this gorgeous state where I got a call for a gig, decided to take it, it's over 6 hours away, and it's okay because it's a gorgeous drive. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it all the time.
Right.
But, it would be different if it was like, you got a gig in Kansas City, or
or West Texas.
Yeah, it's going to be a 6 hour drive, and it all looks the same.
And it looks exactly the same.
But not only that, like where we live and who we get to make music with, but the fact that that was not you listening on your phone. That was my phone, and it's going to be in the podcast now, so I'm going to put on Disturbed. The fact that I got invited to do this, and that I get invited to do cool music things, and that I have musical opportunities, because I was just thinking back and comparing, before I got into any bands, and I was taking voice lessons, and I was grilling my voice teacher about, how do you get into a band? How do you do this? How do you do that? And now, I'm taking that perspective from back there, which was not that long ago.
Right.
15 years. To now, I am part of a wedding roster. A wedding band roster. So I can play bass, or I can take a gig playing bass. I can take a gig singing. And it's not only that band, but like, I am not worried that gigs are going to come, and I don't even have to make it happen myself now.
Right.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because of where I came from. I'm so appreciative that my work has paid off, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I would say that is the answer. It's an unsatisfying answer, but that's sort of the answer I try to give people is there's no trick to how you do it or some sort of magical thing. It's like so many things in life. It's just keep showing up.
Yeah.
Just, you'll meet people, you'll start getting a reputation, you'll start getting people that know you can do certain jobs, and then before you know it,
yeah,
and that's just,
yeah.
There's no shortcut for a lot of things.
Yeah. Work on your craft and be cool to hang out with.
That's pretty much it. So, let's wrap this one up.
All right. Can you hear the chimes? It's windy now.
Yeah.
Of course, it's the minute I say that, they stop.
I know.
Oh, well.
Well, thanks for watching Justin and Adrienne's ASMR Life Weekly. And we are sponsored, as always, by Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio.
And
Diamond Empire Band.
Diamond Empire Band.
Do you need a band for your wedding or corporate event?
Or do you need gigs as a musician?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah, check them out. Diamond Empire Band, I would assume, .com.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah, whatever. All right.
You can find them.
Yep.
All right. Thanks
Thank you
for
guys.
listening. See you next week.
Bye.